Welcome to Recruiting Intel on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook. That's Justin Wells. That's Coach Dub. Thank you for joining. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you've not done so yet, go join InsideTexas.com. Just $1. That's the first link in our description. That's the QR code over by Arch's face. Sign up. Come join the best Texas Longhorns community. Get the best Texas Longhorns info. Got a lot to talk about as Vanderbilt makes their way to town this weekend. That means some recruits are making their way to town this weekend. We'll talk about it all over on Inside Texas. Even have a little list up for some of the big names making their way to Austin. So go join Inside Texas. That first link in the description and also that QR code you see in the top left of the screen. We're going to talk a little bit today about some of the big 2026 prospects taking an official visit to Texas. Talk a little bit about some other prospects who the Longhorns are involved with in the 2026 and 2027 class, maybe even some recruits committed to some other schools who have fired their head coach that it's worth paying a little bit of attention to. And I think, Justin, these are some guys we talked about this past week, but I think there's a good question last week. I forgot who asked it, of Steve Sarkisian, just about what can you do when you're this far removed from a home game. And one of the pictures of Sark from Starkville is him on the phone talking to somebody. And we know he's done that so often with recruits. But how important is it now that Texas 3 times in November is going to be able to get some guys on campus, maybe build a few more inroads with some 2027 guys that they haven't been able to host in Austin for a while?
Yeah, sometimes you forget about it. You forget that it's kind of part of the job hosting these guys on Saturday. Sometimes you can make big impressions on them, and they've got 3 pretty big home games. They've got some opportunities to showcase themselves. They've got 2 top 10 teams coming in the next month, and so this is going to be fun because they're doing really well with 2026. They got the number 5 overall class in the country. They're probably going to close in that range. I think they're going to clean it up. We're going to talk a little bit more about what they may add in the end. 2027, they don't have any momentum, and a lot of it's just because of the slow start to this season. Right after Ohio State, they haven't been able to garner a lot of momentum. They've had some good games, a couple decent wins, but you need these home games. You need to show them the night. You need to show them all the frills, all the lights, all the bells and whistles. And you want to show them beating a really good team. That, to me, is huge. Vanderbilt is a damn good team. Diego Pavia is probably going to be in New York City. I don't know if he's going to win it, but I think he's going to be sitting on the front row when they give it out. And so that's the biggest thing to me. Do it in front of a good team. This isn't the same Vanderbilt. That you're looking at a coach across the sideline that could be in Baton Rouge in January. Like, that's a legit possibility. So Vanderbilt has got guys. They've got great coaches. They got a great program. And now Texas gets a chance in front of some recruits. Let's get back in that vibe of getting guys on campus, engaging with them, because really keeping that relationship fresh is the key to the balance of recruiting.
Yeah, it's big time in 2027 because this is the season so many of these players are going to have as data or use as data ahead of their decisions in June. But, Charlie, it's also time for them to find the final pieces of that 2026 class. And this is senior eval season, as some players who had placeholder commitments or, again, saw their coach fired are starting to look around elsewhere to determine whether they want to or where they want to go for their new home.
Yeah, definitely. Wrote an article earlier. I want to say, was it yesterday? Brian Kelly just got fired from LSU. They have a ton of guys on that roster that's committed. If they open up the recruitment that Texas could really get back in the race for. I think, mentioned like Trenton Henderson, who took an official visit here. You got the number 1, Lamar Brown. That's a huge one. So they got a few more guys over there. We'll say Hayward Howard Jr.'s teammates. He has 2 guys that's committed to LSU that are really, really good that, want to hear from Texas. And so I don't know, maybe it's a Louisiana Texas thing. It could be, but I think the opportunities are there now, with so many coaches getting fired. And hey, Texas can, string together some wins here, get some momentum, like Justin said. Sometimes recruiting is about emotions. If kids are feeling the vibe here in Austin, they come to a game, it's like, hey, okay, maybe this is the place to be. I heard a lot about it, but actually getting to see it, you never know where these kids' head are at, especially losing the coach they thought they were going to actually play for And so now you actually get a chance to kind of pounce on them. I know that sounds like a terrible thing, but it's like, look, that's the way the game goes. So take every opportunity window to try to jump in and get these kids before every other coach tries to.
We'll get to some of the LSU stuff in a minute because there is an LSU commit that we're going to talk about. But first, we're going to talk about one of the guys making his way to Austin this weekend for an official visit. And Justin, that is Toure Davis. He is from Boulder, Colorado, Fairview High School, probably a safety prospect. I forget exactly where he was committed. UCLA, there we go. And I know last time we spoke about him here on this show, there was a little surprise that UCLA was picking up some recruits despite firing Deshaun Foster. All the same, Toure Davis is making his official visit to Texas, and Longhorns need to wrap up their DB class.
They do. We've stood firm on the fact they need to add another safety. Yaheem Riley is a safety, but he's also probably a nickel. So you need more of a true safety, and I think Toure Davis is that exactly. I had something on him earlier on our visitor list. I think this is important because they do want to get one more, but I also think there are guys in state with a lot more upside. And I'm saying that because Donovan Webb is sitting up in Frisco right now, absolutely loved Texas, was offered, and then they sort of just backed off. He committed to Texas Tech. I think this is one of those, they overthought the position. They really did. I think they could have stayed close to home to finish this up. Either way, this is where they're at. And there's still a couple months. They could go back to that bell. But you know what? This kid does have some ability. He can track. He can smack. He's definitely a safety. I don't think he's a nickel or a corner or anything like that. And he's got the frame to get a little bit bigger. And I think that's kind of what Texas wants, kind of in that frame, in that mold. But I just, it's one of those things. He's actually had a really good senior year. He's got some pretty good senior tape that he's put out. I just think, man, there are some other guys with as much upside, if not more, literally a couple hours from campus. And so I'm kind of curious about this one.
Who does he look like? Because checking out his listing
Calicut.
And playing the position Calicut probably should have.
Yeah, the football Calicut. Yeah.
Right. He probably should have played all along. Charlie, when you're looking at some of his film, you don't often find guys who are highly ranked, I feel like, and then also play the safety position. It's a weird part of the evaluation process and the recruiting networks where just unless these pure safeties are unbelievable standouts,
like Jamal
sometimes they seem to get undervalued, but you can see him doing a lot of different things that would kind of fit into the Texas defense and how they operate with their coverages.
Yeah, definitely. Look, he's shown the ability to play center field. He can come roll down, play close to the line of scrimmage that you just shown there and kind of blitz off the edge. He's not afraid to mix it up and come down and hit somebody. He can play the curl flat. I mean, he does a great job. I think if you're looking for a kid who can come in, maybe, be a room guy, play maybe year 2, maybe even year 3. Special teams, I think he is the guy. You kind of look at what the room has. If you're looking for a developmental guy, I think this is a piece. I think he has a lot of great tools.
Yes.
If you're a guy who's going to come in and push somebody in the room, I wouldn't say that. But he's a guy who, like, year 3 we're talking about, said, man, okay, he finally, he's developed to the point where he's a player on the team. I think he adds value that way. And show my offense. He's a good athlete. But like the kid you mentioned, he's like Donovan Webb. Like, to me, he comes in and says, I'm pushing for a starting spot right away because he has some NFL type ability. As a kid, I think he's that type of kid. But I think this is a kid that maybe, sets the floor in the room, but he can develop and bring a lot of things to the table for the team.
Justin, who else are the Longhorns competing with for Toure Davis?
Some West Coast teams. Washington, I think Jed Fish is in this one. A handful of, I think Colorado State's tried to dip their toe, but I don't think it's going to go in that direction. Actually, Texas is really the team. I think USC is the other one that had been coming on of late. They were wanting to add another DB as well, and they like him. But this one pretends for Texas right now. Like, I think if everything goes well, I wouldn't be surprised to see a move in the next few weeks. If they want to shut it down now. Now, we know how selective Texas can be. This might be a filling out process for the Horns as much as it is for Davis. And so we'll have a better grasp of this recruitment when we get to catch up with him after his official visit this weekend.
I know there's a lot of different dynamics as to why a defensive player could play offense, small school, stuff like that. But I do like the idea, that he's playing offense. They're like, this guy's so good, we got to get him doing everything for our team. So good to see Fairview High School make most of him. Justin, you know where you can get tickets as low as $6 for tonight's Texas State Bobcat game?
Game time!
It was fun. I checked that out today because they are playing the Tuesday night game. They are getting a little Fun Belt action, and I was kind of wondering, like, you know what? Is it worth a drive to San Marcos? Don't think I'm going to make it, but if you wanted to make it, you can get tickets. I saw as low as $6, and that's the all-in price. You're not going to get hit with fees and watch it turn into $25 or anything like that. You're going to get all-in pricing. You're going to see what the view looks like from Bobcat Stadium. I think it's Bobcat Stadium. It's either like Bobcat Stadium or UFCU Bobcat Stadium, something like that. All the same. If you want tickets to Texas State football on a Tuesday night, Texas Longhorns versus Vanderbilt football on Saturday morning, or any Longhorn game, MLB, if you're wanting to get to the World Series while there's a couple more games left, NFL.
Hey, they're still playing game 3. I think they're still playing game 3. You can make game 4 if you get online now at Game Time.
So go ahead and see at Game Time hockey, NBA, and college basketball starting up soon to see the Moody Center. No matter where it is, you get to see what the view from your seat looks like with Game Time. If you use the promo code ON3, you get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Go to the Game Time app or use Game Time or go to gametime.co. Use promo code ON3 and get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Justin, the other big official visitor we have to talk about is Karan Maycock from Miami Central. He's a Florida State commit right now, plays linebacker, kind of has what I like in the build a linebacker position with his measurables listed at 6'1", 208 from Miami. And Texas is going to get their look at him and try to add to a class that has Tyler Atkinson and Cussy Ekpala.
They want another. We know how much they want another linebacker. They jumped in the boat for Braden Rouse, my favorite linebacker in 2026. Looks like he's still going to be singing Rocky Top. They jumped in the boat for Braylon Hodge after he decommitted from Michigan State, I believe. And he jumped in the boat with the Ducks and Phil Knight. So now they're up for this boy, Maycock. Listen, I love anytime I look up a prospect huddle and it says anywhere in the vicinity of Dade County, I'm in. Like I'm focused. You got my attention because they're just different athletes in that region of the country. There's no arguing that. We've learned that. Charlie Strong taught us that. This kid is that kind of kid. He is twitchy. He is mean. He is ferocious. This is a kind of kid that you don't think much of during the recruiting process. He gets in your program. He makes an impact on special teams. He starts popping guys in practice. And before you know it, he's a redshirt freshman getting reps. That's the kind of kid this is. You know, I like the Davis prospect. I love Maycock. Like, I think this kid really does have some of that good stuff. I've got a little bit of a bigger Jonathan Cunningham vibe from him. He's just a little bit more filled out. Maybe a little bit meaner, maybe not as twitch, because Jonathan is the twitch. But, man, this is just a fun prospect. And listen, if this is the floor for your linebacker class with Atkinson Ekpala, hey, Johnny Nansen, that's a good job this cycle.
Charlie, this is also a situation where, and Justin, real quick, are the Hurricanes involved here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that means of the big Florida triangle, and he's committed to Florida State, who knows what happens with Mike Norvell? Who knows what happens with Florida as they recruit without a head coach, and who knows who they hire? Miami only has one linebacker in its 2026 class, at least on my quick cursory view. If you're competing with these types of teams, it's nice to know who your competition is, and also maybe the competition being limited in number too.
Look, I like this kid for a number of reasons. First of all, he's an athlete playing linebacker. It kind of reminds you of another kid that we got that doesn't look, maybe not have a prototypical linebacker size, but can move like a safety and smack and track and everything else. That's Mr. Ty Anthony Smith.
Yes.
You put a little weight on this kid. He can do a lot of things playing the box, but he's showing you athleticism that he can play out in space very well. We just played a team that loves to throw the ball in space. You get a linebacker like this who can kind of slide out there and play the weak side. He can cover, right? He can cover slot guys, tight ends, and things like that, as he shows you here. And he comes to balance and tackle as well. So, look, I'm all in for Florida athletes. Look, they don't actually have an athletic period where they learn a lot of football. So you get a lot of pure athleticism from these kids. Once you get them on campus with this track record of this coaching staff developing kids, you add those two things together, man. I think you get a phenomenal player.
You know what else you get with those Miami prospects? Hunger. Those kids are hungry. It's a get out of it's one of those get out of my area, make something life. They're hungry for success. They're hungry to get out. And hey, Texas has some Miami flair in this cycle. Bell has some stroke in that region. Derek Cooper has some stroke in that region. JJ Johnson has some stroke in that area. And so I like that Texas is prioritizing South Florida a little bit more.
I think everything, Charlie, that you mentioned about athletic period in Miami and Florida is very true. I don't want to say Miami Central is an exception, but it may be one of the programs that still holds true, no athletic period and stuff like that. But they're also still a good program there in that region that can provide some resources, and they are able to.
Western, or is he at Central?
Central, at least according to what we got on all three.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So that's one to watch. I think when it comes to all these different classes, watching fired coaches is very key, because at a certain point, all these players are going to have to sign, and the carousel is so sped up that, it's really tough to think that all these teams are going to get rid of their coach maybe the day after Thanksgiving or sometime that weekend, get a replacement in, and have everything in order up to the point where, okay, it's time to put pen to paper. So always stay on, guys. That's why you see Texas. We've seen some articles from the Rivals folks at the national desk talk about how Texas is still communicating. You never stop doing that. If you can do that, I guess, minimum part of the job, someday you're going to receive the call. You can call them, but you're going to get the call. Be like, hey, you know what? I'm a little interested. Let's see what we can do. And of course, maybe that stretches out into February, because that still exists, believe it or not, that February signing day. We got a couple more recruits, a couple more themes to talk about before we do. Got to hear some love from our other sponsor. There's only one way to describe Rhoback: best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Rhoback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rhoback has released so many items within their new licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and Q-zip designs from some of your favorite schools like Texas, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Rhoback's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. Both are super comfortable, have an elastic waistband, and great fabric that's made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for a day on the move. Rhoback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars like Quinn Ewers. They are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. Use the code TEXAS20 on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers through the end of this week. That's RHOBACK.com, and 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with TEXAS20. That's what I was rocking in the airport on the way to Starkville this past week. And
how was Starkville, Joseph? Real quick, how was how are the bells?
The bells are loud, man. It is something.
It was an open press box.
It was an open press box, and the campus is it's very nice. The tailgating's organic, and the people were great. They love Mississippi State there, and that's a place that they value all the different sports that they're successful in, baseball, but they want a football winner. And Texas didn't give them that this past week. We'll get some real quick questions before we get to the last little topic we have from Dave Hart. It's unrealistic and 4 is a lot, but these guys are great players. Dream flips are Lee, so Malachi Lee, Jalen Lott, Trenton Henderson, and Kendall Guerville. Guerville suffered an injury.
Pretty bad injury. I don't think Texas is involved with Guerville anymore. Hoping the best for his recovery.
It seems like Malachi Lee, of course, they would love to have him.
That's
but
the dream.
That's our dream.
Yeah. It's the priority. There's no one more important or position in this 2026 class than Malachi Lee and or offensive tackle.
Jalen Lott, I know he visited a few weeks ago, but we haven't seen much movement there.
I don't think that dog's going to hunt.
We're going to get to Trenton Henderson in a little bit because we got a couple guys to talk about. So who knows? We may see some different flips, but some of these guys, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but because it's kind of been so under the radar, it's hard to see it maybe taking place, but that could change right away. Roaster, obviously love the 2026 D-line class. Clearly need to step up in the O-line recruiting and already know we have to hit the portal. Yeah, that's the case, but you do follow it up. Does Kyle Flood's future with Texas make potential recruits a little nervous? Charlie, whenever you've got a O-line coach or any position coach who is the object of, I guess, ire from a lot of Texas fans, that I'm sure that's not noise that recruits can insulate themselves from, but those are conversations that not only Flood, but even Sark has to have.
Yeah, definitely. Look, our recruits and parents, they're going to ask the question, and they're going to ask stability. Is he going to be my coach? Or, hey, what's really going on inside the room? I know you're known for development, but it doesn't look like there's any development. Is there a chance I can still come in and maybe compete and play? Like, is it talent? Is it a talent issue? Like, all these questions are going to have to be answered from Flood and Coach Sark, throughout the recruiting process with this 26 class with a month and a few days to go before signing day. It's a huge question, and people, they can see the games. They got eyes. They're watching just like us. Like, oh, this doesn't look good. Should I wear it? Should my son actually go there? So you got all these questions they have to answer, and I think you just got to kind of lean on relationships and don't go off maybe this season or the past few games. Look at the development track record over the last maybe 5 years, and really take that into account and really understand like the reason you either committed or the reason you were considering Texas from the beginning. I think that's huge. You should lean on that versus the being a prisoner of the moment of the last few months.
Kids love the opportunity to play early. There's not a position at Texas more inviting than the offensive line.
The one thing, and I will be speaking, I feel like, from Sark's perspective, is he's going to tell any recruit, like, I'm going to get you the best coach possible for your development. Every coach is telling him that. Every coach is telling a recruit that no matter the position, I'm going to get you the best coach, or I have the best coach possible. That type of thing. That's the message, but you have to be effective in delivering that message. And that, what you got?
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Last little quick.
You're killing it, man. Keep going, baby.
Last little quick question from Jose Castillo. How do you guys feel about Sark's press conference where he wants to prioritize high school recruits more than transfers?
You say that at a press conference in front of a bunch of microphones when on social media it's going to be put on memes, GIFs, and photo edits for the next 2 years. That's what you say. But in truth, you go get the best players. If that means high school, if that means 3 or 4 in the portal, Sark is not dead set on one or the other. In theory, we prioritize high school recruiting. You develop those guys and then go to the portal to patch some holes.
Yeah.
But often when the development doesn't fall in, you got to patch more holes than you thought, and you got to take more transfers, which then in turn, hurts high school recruiting a little bit. I love Sark's, process with this. He is not, I agree with what he's trying to say, but at the same time, high school recruits, they're reading what he's saying every day. Other teams' coaches that are committed to those schools are sending them the edit that come out, the CA edit for Steve Sarkisian on Saturday. They're sending that to recruits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Playing like that. So in this instance, when he's got that stage and that microphone, you have to, and I'm not saying he's lying, I'm saying you have to say, I'm prioritizing high school recruiting. It's the lifeblood of your program. If you're having to go to the portal for 30 transfers every year, you are not going to win in this climate, and you're probably not going to be coaching this long in this climate.
Definitely. It's no different than after the Oklahoma game. He gave a big shout out to DFW. We got to recruit the DFW. That makes coaches around the area feel good. It makes players feel like, okay, he loves Dallas-Fort Worth kids. And so it's the exact same thing.
Well, one thing that I think is very true, and Sark has said this very often, they're going to get best players available. That's why they went after David Bailey, the Stanford transfer from who's at Texas Tech and having a great year. That position is in great shape right now. But David Bailey's, could win some postseason awards because of how he's playing. But also they go to fill holes in recruiting or just lack of number spots. And they try to use the portal to make up for misses. They did it at D tackle. They've done it at wide receiver. That type
And also
of
to
thing.
add talent, period. You need
Correct.
to have
Yeah.
depth now.
And I don't always like comparing the NFL to college football, but as they move closer together, who are the best teams right now? They're the teams that drafted really well, and then they sprinkled in some great free agent signings over the course of that. I think you can, and I know the pinnacle of the NFL is so different from the pinnacle of college football, but if you're having to change things, and this isn't just the locker room culture thing, and I think there is value to that. And if you can bring in so many different guys in the portal and maintain your culture, then you're a great coach. And someone at Ole Miss is doing that pretty darn well. But if you can keep your culture and check that box, I guess to say, but you can also just add in pieces that your high school recruiting missed. That's optimal, because if your high school recruiting is still in that top 5 range, your misses aren't that big in number. So I think a lot of the teams that, they go through the portal for so much, yeah, it can really work sometimes, or it can bust. And I think Florida State's a really great team to look at in thinking about how this works, because they have tried to go portal heavy throughout most of Mike Norvell's tenure. They had one peak season, and then they have had terrible seasons outside of that because they just don't emphasize high school recruiting. And the guys they bring in, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
I think, real quick, with recruits, it's a bigger loss because you've invested more. With a transfer portal guy, if you don't get that return on investment, it's usually a 1-year deal. The recruiting one, that's why I think the recruiting is more emphasized, because that's a bigger miss. You sign one guy and he doesn't develop it, he's on your roster for 3 years, compared to a guy you brought in from the portal. Let's say he doesn't, play up to speed like an Agiye Hall. Well, you had a 1-year deal. Well, you just let him go. Another reason why high school recruiting could be more prioritized. It's a bigger miss if you miss at that level.
Charlie, we'll talk
maintaining these guys. I'm sorry, and trying to maintain those dudes.
One last thing to talk about, that is Haven Finney. Charlie, you've got some intel probably coming today. He's from Sierra Canyon in Los Angeles, same class as Richard, same class, same school, same defense as Richard Wesley. And with Brian Kelly being fired, it's starting to look like Texas may be getting a little bit more interested and involved in the top 100 prospect.
Yeah, I know he's teammates with Richard Wesley, but he plays for South Florida Express 707 team, who also has players like, your Jamie French, even Derek Cooper's, a ton of those kids who play on that 707 team he's already familiar with, right? And Texas is recruiting. It's kids that are already committed to Texas and play for Texas. So you kind of have an inroads if you're Texas. He liked Texas before. I know me and Justin got to catch up with him. I want to say, was that March or April at OT 707 tournament? And he loved the fact that Texas was recruiting long, rangy, athletic corners like himself. I think him and Samari Matthews were kind of talking to each other at the time. And so we know Samari's committed to Texas. And so, hey, he fits that mold. He likes that Texas can develop DBs. They send him to the NFL, and he fits exactly what they're looking for. These kids are smart. They're paying attention. And we already have people on the team that's already committed. Man, it bodes well for Texas. So if he comes in for a visit, I want to say maybe not this game, but in a future game, Texas could definitely be a team here to watch out for. I love this kid's tape, and he's a good kid too. He hooked up Justin's son with some $100 bills, yo. So
yeah, he hooked my son up. Yeah, Haven was really cool with my kid. This kid is long. Okay, he's at 6'2". He looks like he's 6'4". He is just long. Also, you remember, Charlie, he was a little different in the spring. He was a class of 2027 in the spring. Then he reclassified. So him and Wesley are on the same path. They're probably taking the same courses. They're probably helping each other online. All right, Richard, you got one more job. Bring your boy to the house.
This gives us a good opportunity to talk about one of the other guys from earlier in a larger conversation. With LSU firing Brian Kelly, do the Longhorns have a chance to get Trenton Henderson from LSU? What are your percentages? Trenton Henderson's from Pensacola. I think that's worth noting. But Justin, what do you know about Trenton Henderson?
We've got some good stuff there. We had that yesterday. David Williams, you missed it at Inside Texas. We had some good stuff. Charlie had a good morning post about it. I added something in the scoop. You could have got all that information already, David. We miss you, brother. And I want to give you those percentages, but I don't know. I do know that Trenton Henderson Texas needs another edge. They're going to get another edge, and they're going to get the bendy kind. They got Wesley. They got a Buck. They like him. They need that other side. And Henderson really liked Texas. This is a kid that I believe has already OV'd to Texas. They were in his top 3. I think it was LSU, Florida, and Texas. They've kept the relationship going. It's not as close as it was. I learned that a few days ago. It's not as close as it was, but it's still there. It's still engaging. Florida feels like they could try to jump into that as well, but they're looking for a head coach just like LSU is. There's going to be a handful of these recruits in 26 where I feel like Texas is going to get the advantage because of consistency. Because, yeah, there might be a position change, coach, something on assistant change. The head coach isn't going anywhere. And that's going to stay consistent. The staff's going to stay consistent. Everything's going to be there. And I think that's something that's going to help with maybe Henderson or another edge. Because like we said with Torrey Davis, they need another safety. We said that with Maycock. They've got to get another linebacker. And we know they've got to get another edge. Trenton Henderson is on that short list. Dre Quinn is another one. But he's kind of trending Georgia at the moment in state.
The one thing about when we're talking about Finney, we're talking about Henderson, California, Florida, LSU does have national appeal, but they did commit to Brian Kelly's LSU program. And maybe whoever LSU hires, they see whoever they hire and think, I still want to play my football at LSU for that coach. But there's a chance they don't, and I think that's different with national recruits.
Yes.
The other thing is with LSU, there are people who I'm sure there are players in the locker room, recruits right now, who didn't care a ton for Brian Kelly, but still are like, well, I'm going to LSU. You know, that program has the type of pull just culturally in that state that maybe only
has that.
Maybe Ohio State for Ohio kids, but the thing is, there are more blue chip guys in Louisiana than produced by Ohio. So that draw is always going to be strong for in-state kids, no matter who the head coach is, whether it's Lane or Sumrall or I don't know, whoever else.
That's how you get a commitment the day after you fire the head coach.
Right. So especially from a La Tech program that's probably going to keep Sonny Cumbie. So like that draw for Louisiana kids, I don't think is just going to open the door for Texas to like do more this cycle in Louisiana. They're still going to always try to recruit it because they have guys like Barron Sorrell and Arch Manning. But like that LSU draw for in-state kids is so strong, it may be coach agnostic. But you look around the country, you get the California LSU commits or the Florida LSU commits, maybe a little bit more easy to pry open the door there. So going to be fun to track as we see a bunch of other people on the carousel. Justin, before we get out of here, I think you know what this question's about. I'm guessing about cards.
Yeah, that's my boy Joshy. Him and I are big collectors. He's a good dude, man. He really is. He's a great supporter of Inside Texas. He's really big supporter of us. He's a really good guy. I haven't added any big ones lately here, Josh, but I've actually moved a couple big ones in the last few days of Victor Wembanyama rookie Prism Green PSA 10 and a Shohei Ohtani rookie Topps Chrome PSA 10. I moved both of those in the last few days, so now I'm going to go buy a house.
Yeah, I think I found some like Pirates infielder named Wagner just laying around. So I'll see what's going on with that one and if it's worth about $10 or anything like that. Maybe it's worth something. I don't know. Maybe somebody from Pittsburgh's interested in that one. But we got a card discussion on Inside Texas. We got recruiting discussion on Inside Texas. We got everything on Inside Texas. So go to that first link in our description. Sign up for $1. Get the best Texas Longhorns intel. Join the best Texas Longhorns community. If you're watching on video, go ahead and scan that QR code by Arch's face. Join for just $1. Can't wait to see everybody over on the website. So, Justin, Charlie.
Hey, David Williams, you forgot somebody. We are not skipping Zena Umeozulu in this cycle. That kid is going to get major minutes next fall.
All right, looking forward to it. Justin, Charlie, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Recruiting Intel, the Inside Texas YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.